Yo, what's up? I want to make this video real quick about how people say that the Christianity supported slavery. Like we were saying, it's okay to be slaves. We're Christians, but and we know that God punished some of us with well, not us, but our ancestors, or whoever else, with slavery. That doesn't mean that we liked it and we were happy with it, but we have to accept what God said to us. But the scripture that's being used all the time to say that Christianity is, um, support slavery. It says, dang, it says, slaves, obey your earthly masters with respect and fear, and with sincerity of heart, just as you would obey Christ. Ephesians 6:5. Ephesians 6:5. That means that it was in Ephesus. Did you ever hear of Paul telling the Jews in Jerusalem to obey their earthly masters? Basically, well, y'all in the video. I'm not even gonna change. I'm not even gonna start over. But basically, you have to realize that even though Paul was a Jew and he was from, in the area. Well, it says he's from Tarsus. I'm not gonna act like I know exactly where that is. But what I'm saying is, he went. He didn't have just because he was called by God. He didn't have authority over governments, meaning that since he didn't have authority over governments, even though he was going to these places, some of these places had slavery. And he was, when he wrote this scripture, he wrote it to the Ephesians, to Ephesus, which is in Turkey, not in a Christian nation. He was going to the Gentiles because God told him to go to the Gentiles. So these people that he was writing to were Gentiles, and some of them were slaves. But at the same time, we must understand slaves back then could have just been an employee, a worker. They didn't have all these jobs we have now. They didn't have McDonald's and construct. They had everything was construction or hard work or laborers. So a slave is just one of your workers. So y'all can say that the Bible supported slavery, and Christians are supposed to, supposed to be very fearing of the white man, that y'all believe that we're brainwashed to believe that the white man is superior to us. That's not what this scripture was talking about. Ephesus is in Turkey, meaning Paul was writing to people in that area. Should he have told them, don't obey earthly masters and get killed? Is that what he should have said? Is that what he should have said? He should have said, don't obey your earthly masters, try to run away. And then what would have happened? They all would have been dead. They all would have been dead. It's just all. I mean, I don't want to go through all these scriptures. Of course, in the Old Testament, they had slavery. They did have slavery. Even God's own people were slaves. So it's just like the argument that's being made doesn't have anything to do with what y'all are making it seem like. So I'm gonna leave it with that. Ephesians 6:5 was written to people in Ephesus that wasn't a Christian nation, but they had slaves. Simple as that, pretty much. I think it's just a misunderstanding of what you think the scriptures mean, and it didn't really mean what you thought it did. It's talking about them being obedient to their masters, and and serve Christ. For him, he couldn't free them. He just was somebody passing God's message. They didn't have any. They didn't have no rulership over these people. I'm just trying to get this into your head. They didn't have any rulership over these people. So when he was writing, he went to Rome. Do you know what? Did y'all ever read what was happening to him in these places? He was before different places. They were going to kill him in many places. So you can't think that he's talking to a whole bunch of Christians and was like, yeah, you're to be slaves. And no, he was telling them how to live in the time they were living in. And see, that's the thing that's the one thing y'all don't really realize. But I'm not gonna go all day on air, and this is long enough.